Hey guys, welcome back to the DrCliffAuD vlog. This is vlog number 189, and today I want to talk to you guys about my new content strategy. Now, before you jump off this video because you're like, man, that sounds like it's incredibly boring, I'm going to give you a little bit of a behind-the-scenes look at my creative process and how I actually go into creating all of these videos. But before I get into it, if you could do me a huge favor, click that like button. It really helps out the channel. And if you are not yet subscribed, go ahead and hit that subscribe button with notification bell so you get a notification every single time I post one of these new videos. That being said, the reason why I wanted to record this video is because I've been doing a lot of different types of content. If I were to go back, 6 years at this point, I made my first video, I want to say in July of 2017. That was a month or two after I opened up my clinic, Applied Hearing Solutions. And initially, just so you guys know, I was initially going to pay a company to write my scripts, to actually do all the research and give them a topic and have them go in and write everything that I could say in the video, because I had convinced myself at that point in my life, even coming through grad school, that I just was not that good of a writer. I'm not that good at researching things. I'm not that good at conveying my knowledge. And so I was going to pay literally someone a couple $100, I think up to like $700 per video, just to write it. And then I was going to film it because I knew that I had the ability to get in front of a camera and talk. And so if I had someone else doing the work and then I was just having to say that information, then it would have made it easy on me because I was still trying to get a clinic up and running. But what I soon realized is that when you pay someone who has no clue about what they're talking about to write about something, not uncommon inside of the hearing aid industry or the hearing care industry, to pay a blog writer to write a blog for your website, and when you read it you're like, there's no way that was written by an audiologist. Like, that's what I was perceiving when I was getting these initial like 2 blogs from this company. The writing was horrible, the information was not factually accurate, and I realized at that moment that if I'm going to have a YouTube channel talking about audiology, hearing aids, balance, tinnitus, I was going to have to do the work myself. And so basically what happened is I decided I was going to make 2 videos a weekend, every single weekend for an entire year. And after that 1 year, if nobody cared, I would stop making videos. And the approach that I was taking was very similar to a couple of other vloggers, or rather content creators that I saw on YouTube at the time, that they would have an informational video that would be about 5 to 7 minutes long, all jam-packed with good information, not rambly like my vlogs are, not rambly in any way, but they were very structured. They get to the point, they educate you on something very specific, and then they post another video another couple days later, right? And I'm like, that seems like it'd be a very good model to do inside of the hearing care space, because there's no one out there doing it, at least not consistently. There was a couple of videos here and there by people who had posted on certain hearing aids, or how to pick a hearing aid, or things like that, but nothing that would really be super educational. And so I started creating all of these videos. I spent a ton of time doing the research, a ton of time doing the script writing, and then obviously a ton of time doing the recording, and then the editing, which took a long time as well. And I just taught myself to do all that stuff. I had essentially no free time for the first 4 years of me making video content. And I consistently stayed with that trend. It was 5 to 7 minute videos, very structured. Ended up getting a couple of sponsors on board. So a couple times a month you would see a sponsored video come out, but still the main goal of those sponsored videos was to educate someone on a particular topic. And then if a company had a feature or a product that would solve whatever that problem was, or whatever that discussion point was that we were educating about in the video, I would have it be a sponsored video. And we did that again for another couple of years, literally up until right now. But what you may have noticed is that, last year we decided we wanted to start doing some more long form. So we started the Dr. Cliff Show. We ran into a lot of issues, as you know, with the Dr. Cliff Show, but we basically hired a production company. So notice the trend here. I always try to hire people to do things to try to make it easier, and it ends up maybe not being as easy as I thought it was going to be by paying someone to do it. It's just easier to do it ourselves, but that's kind of what happened. We wanted to run a live show. It's about 45 minutes in length, 45 minutes to an hour in length, and it just, it was good. I mean, we would get thousands of views per episode, and we were able to take little pieces of that content out and post it again, in shorter form, like, a couple minutes long, to where people would watch pieces of it ongoing. But we ran into issues with being able to produce it live, and it was incredibly expensive to do. And so the juice wasn't worth the squeeze. Even though we got some sponsors to help curb the costs, it was still a hugely stressful thing to actually put on. It was a lot of work on Dr. Rachel Cook's shoulders. And then we actually had to block off clinic time to come over here and do it. So we took time and revenue away from the clinic to do the shows, and it wasn't as popular as we wanted it to be. Because here's the thing, like, if it would have been extremely popular, it would have led to more people coming into the clinic to get treatment. And I do think it did that to some degree, but not to the degree to where it made sense to keep the show going. Now, we haven't relaunched the show. In fact, I'm in the studio right now. We just got done recording a podcast episode. But we're doing pre-recorded, and then we're having essentially it edited before we release it. And it's going to be more discussion-based rather than task-based. Like, we were very structured in the first one, and now it's kind of like, okay, we have a couple of concepts or talking points that we want to get out, but pretty much the conversation just flows. And it's going to be even better, I think, from taking out shorter pieces of content. And that's kind of the point that I wanted to make in this video, is that I don't know if you guys have noticed it, but there's been a lot more shorts online, I guess, because you're talking like micro pieces of content, so anywhere from 30 seconds to a minute long. It was really made popular by TikTok. It was formerly Musical.ly, and that's more like entertainment based, and it's for people who have relatively short attention spans, which are us as humans, right? Like, all of us have shorter attention spans now than what we used to. And so I've been tasked by different people who help kind of like coach me through the content process, or the management of the content. And it's like, Cliff, you really need to start creating more short form content. And I was like, well, okay, can't you just take my long form videos and turn those into shorts? Like, take little nuggets that was of 30 seconds to a minute long that were really good in my long videos and just turn those into shorts. And the answer to that is yes, they can do that. But they've also been requesting that I actually create dedicated short content. So take your camera, or your phone rather, put it on selfie mode, and just talk to the camera. Make it extremely personal. Hold the camera or hold the phone in your hand, or maybe put it on a tripod here and there. But be much more conversational, like I am right now, more real life, and not be so structured and rigid inside of my YouTube studio. And so I've been, I resisted it for a while, but it's started to grow on me a little bit, because sometimes I don't have a whole lot to say. I know that's shocking, because I make a lot of these videos and a lot of them are very long, but I don't always have a lot to say. And there are times where I'm like, I just really want to get this little piece of information out there, but I don't necessarily want to build a whole 5 to 7 minute video and take 8 hours of my time to perfectly craft a structured video to get that piece of information out there. I could literally take the phone, hit record, and within 30 seconds to a minute get this basic concept out there. Now, will it be as fully developed as my longer form content? Of course not. It's not going to be. But I think that the way that we're using it is to kind of get people into the ecosystem. There's not a ton of people out there who are extremely interested and jazzed up by hearing healthcare like I am, and I get it. And so the chances of them being willing to sit through a longer piece of video content is less likely than them watching a 30-second piece of content. And then if they watch enough of those 30-second pieces of content, and they're like, man, I'm getting a lot of little nuggets of good information here, maybe I should go watch a full-length structured video, 5 to 7 minute video, or boy, maybe even watch an hour-long podcast show, right? and kind of get them into the ecosystem that way. So I've realized over the course of time that there's different ways to get people interested in different things. Sometimes I clickbait you guys into thinking that something horrible is going on, only to kind of like, it's somewhat related, but we pivot it onto a completely different topic that you really need to know about, but you never would have been willing to click and learn about that thing if we didn't clickbait you into the video. So it's not with malicious intent. Like, I don't give a crap about ad revenue or anything like that. What I care about is you actually getting the information that you need, whether or not you realize you need that information or not. And so I think short form content is really not the future. I mean, I think it's the right now. I think that something else is going to come out in the future that's going to be different than what we're doing right now. The struggle that I'm having is the amount of time that I'm allocating to these different areas of content. Obviously, it takes a lot more time to do a structured 5 to 7 minute long video, especially if it's going to be sponsored, and I need to figure out how to work in that sponsorship tastefully and not just bludgeon you guys with something that's totally out of context for the topic of that video. Than it is to record like a short 30-second video, or even to record a podcast, because podcast is more of just like a free flow of ideas and thoughts and stuff like that. It doesn't take a whole lot of time to prep a podcast episode. It takes a ton of time to prep a short structured video where I'm trying to jam pack a ton of information inside of that 5 to 7 minutes. And then review videos are even crazier. Review videos are like 20 minutes long, and they take about 3 times as long to actually review, script, record, and then do editing and all of that. So I guess the point here is that anytime that there's a new form of content that can be created in its video format, I'm probably going to jump on that probably later rather than sooner, because I'm not an early adopter for really much of anything except for hearing aids. But I think that as you see this channel evolve, you're going to see different forms of content in different environments with different people. We have Dr. Rachel Cook creating content regularly on the channel now, which I think is a really nice alternate to me. To get a different perspective on things, even though we do think similarly a lot of ways, because there's only one way to provide best practice audiologic care, and that's by following the best practices. So when you have two people who believe strongly in that, you're going to get fairly similar messaging in the content. But she's a lot cooler and hipper and into, I would say, pop culture than what I am, and I'm not really at all, but it just gives a different, nice dynamic having her on making video content. And then of course, when we do the podcast episodes, we have Dr. Kelsey Beck, sometimes we have Dr. Leslie Balderas on the show as well, and we're starting to do more interviews. So if you're particularly interested in me interviewing someone inside of the industry of hearing care, or maybe even outside of hearing care, that would be somewhat contextual to hearing to some degree, because that's what my channel is all about, please let me know. I'm going to have Gus Mueller on the show. I already had Mike Householder on the show from X-Mems. I'm going to be having probably Dr. Amit Kasalia come out here and actually be physically on the show, and hopefully our microphones record his audio this time, and a variety of other individuals we're lining up to do interviews, because I want to make sure that I'm bringing as much quality information as possible, and I'm trying to expand it beyond just my perspective, because my perspective is definitely not the only perspective, and there's no guarantee that my perspective is the right perspective. So getting other people involved in this as well, I think is going to be good, not just for individuals who have hearing loss or are trying to improve their hearing, but I think it's going to be good for the profession to kind of move the profession forward with the sharing of different ideas in a very a positive way, I guess I would say. So that's really what's been going on, a lot of different forms of content. If you have not seen my shorts videos yet, if you go to the DrCliffAuD YouTube channel, you can actually go and click on all of the shorts that we've put out. They're very quick to get through. Like I said, they're only 30 seconds to a minute long. Go check those out. I think that there's a lot of good little pieces of information. So if you don't have time to watch a full-length video, just go and watch one of the shorts. And apparently I'm on TikTok as well. Go check me out on TikTok. Again, I have a content manager, Dr. Brad Stewart, who takes a lot of my content and puts it out there on TikTok and Instagram and all of that. So if you're not following me on any of those channels and you want more of the shorter form content, go check those out. Okay guys, that is all I really wanted to talk about today. I appreciate you following the channel. If you did like this video, give it a thumbs up, and as always, I'll see you next week.